There he is. Good morning. On the line right now, actually in studio right now, is the superintendent of schools, Bruce Karam, City of Utica. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Bill.
Always a pleasure to have you in here.
Always a pleasure to be here.
But
Bill.
I'm getting sick of it. That every year we have to talk about the same horrible story that you guys have this $1 million plus shortfall. I mean, when is this going to... If you spend all your time trying to figure out how you handle the shortfall, it takes away from improving and doing the things you want to do for kids.
Absolutely, and that's a great point, Bill. I mean, we start the budget process back in the summer, and it takes a lot of man hours to put this together, to compile it, to review it, to re-review it, and we have a very meticulous process that we follow, because when we prepare our budget, we take a lot of considerations, into play, such as, the area, what kind of services, that we can continue to support. Of course, our mission is education, so, we have to keep as many classroom teachers as we possibly can in the classroom.
And you're a growing school district. You're one of the few districts that can say in New York, hey, we're actually getting larger.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We grow 400 to 500 students per year. And when you look around central New York, that's really not happening anywhere else. So, we're dealing with, some very complex variables here, and a lot of things come into play.
Listen, the Central New York, Jim Zecca, Mohawk Valley Trump ralliers were in last week saying that, do I have that title right? Close.
Not even close.
Not even close. Saying it's immigrants and refugees that are destroying our school. It's preventing students who are, I want to change the way they worded it, but preventing students who were born here and live here from getting a proper education. How do you respond to that?
Well, my response is very simple. The Utica City School District, our mission is education. We comply with all federal and state laws. We educate all students that are in our district. And that's pretty much... it's as simple as that. These other issues are, I know, hot button issues right now across the country, but those have to be resolved by our legislators, our elected officials. We, like Bill, we don't make the laws, but we follow the laws. It's
interesting. Would you say that this influx of students is really what makes Proctor unique? It's so diverse. How many different languages? 40 some odd?
We have approximately 42 languages spoken, and I got to say the refugee and immigrant students that come in, I think that it's a great thing, because the diversity and everything in our school system makes us very unique. Yeah, and very unique. I think even when we're compared to other places across the country, and I just think that that is part of the educational process that our students are learning, not only the academics but the social interaction, and just the day-to-day living, and I think that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. So can you afford? I mean, you just said you 400, 500 students a year you're gaining. Aid continues to become an issue. Yep. You've already laid off over the years, and you've tightened your belt to the point where, can you tighten any more this year?
It's becoming increasingly difficult.
Yeah.
I guess the direct answer is no. I mean, we're already at a level right now. We have higher class sizes. We've cut programs over the years. We've cut half our administrative staff. We made almost approximately $24 million in cuts if we take this deficit this year into play, in consideration over the last this is cumulative over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Now, no private business or private corporation could make these kinds of draconian cuts without it directly affecting the level of service.
Right.
And our service, like I said earlier, our mission is education, and of course it's hurting us.
Yeah.
It's just a very, very severe problem. Again, Utica is facing this is a revenue problem. It is not an expenditure problem. We are very conservative when we put our budget together.
Right.
We tightly manage our budget, and we also have to take into consideration one of the factors is that we have now been notified that the Utica City School District is the third poorest in the state. And that is a wealth ratio formula that the state uses, and that was presented the night of our budget presentation a couple of weeks ago by an independent office the Office of State Aid Planning up at BOCES. I mean, they came in, they reviewed the formula, and that's why we put them on, every year, so that the Board of Education and the public can really understand what our situation is and what's happening with this foundation aid formula and how poor Utica is. So there's a lot of factors that are affecting us right now, and it's a very complex problem.
It certainly would be a situation where I would think that things would run so much more smoothly if you didn't have to go through this fight every year. It's back to my original question. You're spending all your time all year long trying to figure out how you're going to be able to come up with the money to be able to get through the year, and then before you know it, you're starting all over again for next year.
You're absolutely right. It drains a lot of time away from our mission. Our primary mission, again, is education, and we're spending an inordinate amount of time on budget preparation and scenarios in a budget preparation that it just takes away from myself and my staff. So you're absolutely right on that.
So where does it go here? Have you talked to legislators?
I've been out to Albany 3 times already. A couple weeks ago, I testified in front of the Senate and Assembly Budget Committee. I laid out the facts there along with the other superintendents in the Big Five. Which is Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, Yonkers, and New York City. And, to make them, again, to reinforce the fact that that something has to be done with the state aid formula as it relates to Utica.
So, promising?
I'm always hopeful.
Yeah.
I'm an optimistic kind of a person.
But as every year goes by, a little drop of optimism has to disappear. It evaporates.
It becomes frustrating. Yeah. Absolutely. And again, you're right. It's very frustrating. We're hoping that we can at least get enough to cover our deficit that we're projecting for next year.
Yeah.
So we could at least maintain the services we have. But of course, we do need the funding that we should have gotten over the years so that we could rehire the 350 staff that we laid off over the last 5 years. No organization could take cuts like this and still maintain a level of service, to our students, or if it's private to their customers, that is satisfactory.
And at the end of the day, too, you have to be. It seems that you are considerate of the fact that Utica is the residents, the property owners are stressed. It's very difficult, stressed financially. It's very difficult to raise taxes here.
Oh, it's extremely difficult. But I'm a born and raised Utican, so I see every day when you go to the grocery store, the people, and I talk to a lot of people, and the kinds of decisions, especially the elderly people, have to make between medicine, food, and heat in the wintertime. I mean, it's awful. It really is awful, and they just, people just cannot afford it. So that is one of our primary goals, too, when we craft the budget. I mean, the amount of deficit that we're talking about here, that we are underfunded, in no way you could raise taxes from now till the cows come home. It just wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
And not only that, it's the state's responsibility. It is the state's responsibility to give us our fair share. And then we could look at other things after that's done. Right
now, the governor's talking about dissolving the debt that you say is owed to Utica and to schools across the state. The governor's saying, we'll just look at that, look the other way, and forgive that. I clearly can't imagine that you could agree with that.
No, I wouldn't support that.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Let me ask you this. If he said we're going to dissolve it but fix it going forward, how would you feel about that?
I would have to see the plan first.
Yeah.
I would have to see how the numbers work out first, before I would support something like that. I mean, because we're talking about students, their lives. We're talking about their education. We're talking about their futures. I mean, it's too important of a topic to make any kind of, quick decision on anything. I mean, I'd have to see everything and review it.
Yeah.
Another reason, I mean, it's not like you can go back to 2013 and say we're going to hire 4 more teachers for 2013. I mean, obviously, what's done is done. Let me ask you this: Assemblyman Brindisi, many times on the show, former school board member, advocating for the Utica School District and other districts. When you go to Albany and you talk to other legislators, what do they say?
Well, they listen. Everyone listens. they ask the questions, they listen, and we're hoping that when we continue to review these facts with them, that this will be changed someday.
Who's number one, by the way, number two? If you're the third poorest, who are the top two?
They're very small districts, under
Okay.
3,000 or 4,000 students, and they're in rural areas.
Got it. Okay.
So,
So in terms
not,
of the big five, the big city districts throughout the state, you guys are the poorest of
that's
those.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Utica really is in a unique situation because we're a small city school district,
Right.
and we're third on the list.
And with a very difficult property tax base, you can't raise the taxes like where property values are other places where property values are so high. We don't have that here.
No, you're absolutely right. You have your facts right. You're right on target. Again, how much can people pay? You have your local, your city, your county. You got all of these. How much can people pay? And we got to take into consideration everyone when we put this budget together, the taxpayers, along with the kinds of services that we're going to provide for the students, and balance it the best we can until the state does the right thing.
It does not make sense when they tell you you've got to do A, B, and C, and then they turn around and pull your aid and then sue you because you didn't do C out of A, B, and C. Or they say you didn't do C. It's a real perplexing situation. I don't know how it gets fixed without a change in the formula.
It's a very, I guess in a very polite way, it's a very unique situation.
Yeah.
And I got to say that our Assemblyman, Mr. Brindisi, has been a staunch advocate for us, along with Senator Griffel. I know that they're both fighting for us, to fix this problem.
Right.
And, I'm going to go back out to Albany again in the next week and, continue to fight and try to get as much additional aid as we possibly can, so we can not only maintain what we have for next year, because, we want to keep our class sizes down because they're large, but also try to rehire some of the teachers that we've laid off over the last 5 years, which is over 250 of those. And then in addition to that, all our, support staff.
I got to tell you, we could have an awesome conversation, the two of us, on air, if we just didn't have to deal with all these terrible issues every year.
We could talk about a lot of fun things.
There's
Bill.
a lot of good stuff out there.
Stuff that'll make us happy.
We can
Mets
never
baseball?
talk about that.
Absolutely.
Oh, really? I thought you were a Yankee fan.
I am, but I go back and forth.
Yeah, it's a New York year this year.
I hope so.
I hope so too.
I hope so.
And the 250 on the teachers, that doesn't include support staff? That's just teachers?
That's just teachers. When you add the support staff, you're over
That
350.
sounds like a whole district's worth of teachers.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
many of the districts in our area, that is probably their staff, or maybe more of what we laid off.
Wow. Well, it's a terrible thing. Let's hope that something happens. Brindisi, the assemblyman, says he's hopeful that maybe this could be the year. It's not going to be the complete fix, but maybe this could be the year where we don't have to, solve your problem this year and make you feel a little bit better about next year. I think that's what's needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bill, I want to tell you, I want to thank you. Every year you have me come in and you highlight this fact, because it's a very important fact and of what's going on in this issue. And I want to thank you for that support too, because sometimes this can be a lonely fight, and it's not easy, and many school districts don't have to do this, but we're hopeful, and like I said earlier, I'm optimistic that we will get the money someday.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how you do it. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Thank you, Bill.